This is Microsoft Excel. This is the textbook project from Module 1, and it has us open up 1-1. Now notice that it has my name on it, but the instructions that you're going to see will just say 1-1. However, you want to make sure that you have the right one. The way you know you have the right one is you're going to see your name up top over here. So it tells us right away to go into the Save As box, and it wants us to save it as postings. So what I'm going to do is get rid of, in fact, I'm just going to hit F12. I don't like doing it that way. And I'm in Module 1 here. So what I'm going to do is get rid of the 1- here. And I'm going to put in underscore and postings. And I have the underscore already there. Now, if you name it wrong and you try to submit it, it'll tell you the name that you should submit. So that's not a big deal. That you can always fix that. So yes, we know it already exists. So we're good here. So the very first thing it's telling me to do is, it talks about the name box in here. It talks about the formula bar. And this is the formula bar here. This is the name box in here. It talks about the cell pointer. So if I'm clicking here, I know where I'm at because it's got the little green marking around it. Wherever I click, it's in here. I can also use the name box here. If I wanted to go, say, K2, I could just type in K2 there, and it goes automatically. The spreadsheet itself is broken down into columns and rows. So these are normally headings up top, but you can also have headings on the side as well in here. And let's see. One thing you'll like too is up top there's a tell me box. So you can ask for help just strictly by using the tell me box over here. So that's something that you're going to use in one of the actual simulations when it comes to doing a fill. So let's go, and very first thing it says, just click in cell B4. So this is B. So we just go down and we know it's B4. When you click in it, notice that this changes to B4 over here. And then it's saying drag to B11. So basically what we're doing is we're selecting this row. You know it's selected, or just selecting this column in here. You know it's selected because you can see that it's a different color. The active cell is the one that is not grayed. So, and this actually is called a range, and you'll see that explained over here, and it tells you how to navigate and all that stuff. So that's all it wants you to do in that section. So now we're going to actually enter Dable. They talk about the difference between labels and values. Labels are just descriptions. Like for here, it's January to March, April to June. This is the different cities in here. Those are called labels. And the values are right here. The value could be an actual value that's typed in, or it could be a formula in here. So it tells us to click on cell F3, which we go to F3 here, and type in total. And if I click on the enter on the keyboard, it's going to go down, but it's telling us to click on the check mark, which is the enter key on the formula bar. So that takes care of number 1. Number 2 is, I typed in total. We're going to go to A12 and type in Vancouver. So here's A12, type in Vancouver. And hopefully I spelled it right. Then I'm going to hit the tab key. As soon as I hit the tab key, it's going to go one cell to the right. So now we're in B12, and it wants us to type 130, hitting the tab key, 117, and 130 again, and then hit the tab key. So let's see if I did that right, which I apparently did not do right. So let's go and retype this here, 130, 117, and 130. So always look at your sheets, and you can just, if there's any kind of issues that you have wrong, boom. So there should be a 120, which I must have missed that step. So let me go back in and change it. So there's two ways that you can change it. Actually, three ways. You can go and just retype it. You could double click in it, and that will put your cursor in your edit mode. Notice down here it says edit mode. You can actually hit the F2 key, which also puts you in edit mode. Or you can just go back up here in the formula and click and just type it in the formula bar. Whatever way that you feel you want to do, I use a combination of everything, depending upon what I feel like doing. So it tells us to click in cell B3, and we're going to hit the delete key. Now I can also right click and choose clear contents. So I'm just, since I right clicked over here, I'm going to choose delete, and it gives us different options. So in this particular case, I'm just going to hit the delete key, because we don't want to mess with deleting a column or a row or anything that nature. So that'll take care of deleting the cell contents. When you press the delete there, it's talking normally about a row or a column in there. So now we're going to go to cell C3, and we're going to select all these things, and then again, we're going to hit the delete key. Now you're going to kind of like this here. So I'm going to go to B3. I'm going to type Q1. And I'm going to use this enter key up top here. Now, Microsoft Excel has a neat thing called fill series. So if I just click over here, and there's two ways to do it. You can left click or right click. I'm going to left click here on the plus sign here. That's on this little button down here at the very bottom. And I'm going to drag to the right. Notice that it changed to Q2, Q3, and then Q4. It automatically sensed that you wanted to do that. So if you did not want to, and Mac people, I do not believe you're going to have this autofill options here. You could have just copied the cells, and then it would just say Q1, Q2, Q3 in there. So bear that in mind. There's different ways to do it in here. So we took care of Q1. We used the fill handle. We used the autofill options. And then it tells us to save our work. So now we're going to do entering data. And these are different things that are important for you to understand. This is normal when you're clicking in here. That's normal. The fill handle we just showed. The I-beam is when you're actually editing things in here. Then you have the move is the crosshairs. A copy, you've got the arrow and column resize. So show you the column resize real quick. If you have your mouse up here and you're clicking between these here, notice that's where your column resize is. So that explains that. You can take a look at that. And down over here, now I know you have this little thing here, it's a little hard to see, but if you see down here it says ready. If you're actually entering something, it's going to be enter, but if you're editing something, it'll change from ready to edit. For instance, if I hit the F2 key, notice that it does say edit, a little bit challenging to see, and I want to get out of it, I'll just hit the escape key. So now we are before, click B4 in the left of the formula bar. So B4. And then click 4 in the formula bar. So I may be in the wrong spot, B4. So these are one of the ways that you can edit things in here. So it's going to want to change us to make this 133. So I'm going to hit the delete key. So let me see where it wants us in here. Click to the left of the 4. I'm going to hit the delete key. That means delete to the right. If I click over here and hit the backspace key, it'll delete the key to the left. So I'm hitting the delete key. It deletes the key to the right. Then I'm going to hit in the 3, and I'm going to hit enter. So that is That was number 1. Then number 2 is the actual filling it in. Then in B6, we're going to hit the F2 key. So here's B6. And then it wants us to hit, see where it wants us to be. In the backspace, press 9. So this is actually B6 in here. We hit an F2. And then we're going to go backspace. Then the 1 will get deleted. And then we're going to hit the 9. In H6, we're going to double click the word max. Now, what I normally do is I'll do it in the formula bar. That way, this puts it in edit mode. So if I did it that way, I'd have to double click it and then double click it again. So in this particular case, I'll just double click in the formula bar, and then it wants us to type the word maximum. And yes, I know I just could have typed in MUM, and it would have taken care of it. That we're going to do in the next one. So now we're going to click in H7. And I'm going to type in IMUM. So that takes care of this. That was number 7. And it shows us what we should have. So I will save this and move on. So now we're going to copy the cell data to the clipboard, and we're going to move arrange. So I'm going to leave the clipboard open over here, which is the same thing as what you had in Microsoft Word, and let me delete all of this stuff here. So we don't have anything clear in here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click in cell F3, which is the total, and I'm going to click on the copy. So notice that total's put in here. So everything that you you copy or you cut is going to be in the clipboard. So you can see that we have that shown in figure 1.7. And then we're going to click in cell A13. And we're going to click paste. And let me see if it wants us to do paste options in here. So in this particular case, we're just going to click on paste. Now you can click on paste here, or you can click on the paste here. So I'm going to do the same thing. And it just copy paste. Now you do have paste options in here, but not a lot of them because it's just a label in here. So we'll just click on paste here. So that looks good. We are also going to close the clipboard. And then I'm going to select the range H5 to H7. So what we're going to do is Excel's equivalent of drag and drop. So notice that it's selected. If I were to click and try to drag, it's just going to continue selecting. So that's not what we want to do. What we need to do is get on a corner and wait till it goes to crosshairs, which is now doing it, and then drag it down. So we want to go into cell A15. If you don't like that, it's the same thing as cut and paste. Either way, it's basically what it is. Drag and drop, just like in Microsoft Word. So that is all of 1.4. We're now using formulas in here. All formulas begin with the equal sign. So if I wanted to add 5 and 6, if I typed in 5 plus 6, it's just going to put it in here. If I wanted to add 5 and 6, I'd hit the equal 5 plus 6, and I should get 11 in here. So let me delete these. So it goes in here, explains about formulas, and you can use the plus, minus, star. Now remember, if you do not know your order of preference, remember it's parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. An easy way to remember it is PIMA. So P for parentheses, E for exponents, and M multiplication, and A for addition. But multiplication and division are the same, and addition and subtraction are the same. The way it works is it's going to look for parentheses, And if there are no parentheses, it's going to go by order preference. So if you had something like this, and hopefully this is just a review for you, 5 plus 6 times 8 minus 3, what's going to wind up happening is it's going to multiply the 6 times the 8. I'm sure this is a review for you, and get 48. And then it'll go left to right and add 5 to 48 and then subtract 3. All right, so we're going to click in cell F4. And this is a terrible way to do this. So do not do this in your spreadsheets. Use the sum, which you're going to learn next. So I want to get a sum of the 4 quarters. So I'm going to hit the equal sign. And then I'm going to click the cells, or I can type them in. And now I have B4. I'll just hit the plus key. And C4 plus key. D4. And then I'll hit the enter key, and that adds it up. Now, yes, I know it works because it adds the 4 up. But suppose you wanted to put in something different, say like a subtotal. So I'm going to insert a column, and I'm going to put 50 here. Notice that this does not get updated. So the sum will do that. So you'll see that in a little bit. So now we're going to probably copy it down. So we're going to click in cell B13. Let's see, I'm probably missing a step. And I'm not seeing anywhere it tells me to copy. So we might have to go back and copy it later. So we're going to click in cell B13, which is here. And now we're going to use the sum. But it tells you that you could do plus B4 plus this, blah, 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 blah. But that's crazy, especially if you have 50 things to add. So we're going to click on the auto sum. Now that's the default is auto sum. It just means sum these things up. But there's also average, count, min, and max in here. So we're going to do the sum. Sum and auto sum are the same. And what happens is it's going to go up as far as it can until it finds a non-numeric value, which quarter 1 obviously is. I'm going to hit the enter key here, and notice that it's 1,082. So what's good about the sum, let's add this, and let's just add 500. This should change to 1582, which it did. So that's the reason why you always want to use sum and never hard code it. So that takes care of B13. We did this. It tells us to save our work, which I will do. I can save work. So I'm hoping I didn't miss a step. If I did, we'll go back. So now we're going to copy formulas. All right. So now we're going to go to cell F4. And this is going to be something what's called relative reference. What that means is as you go up or down, left or right, adjust the cells accordingly. So I'll show you. So I'm going to click this here. I'm going to drag this down. And it automatically adds the sums of these things here. So notice it says B5, C5, so on. I went down. Now it adjusts this to 6, 7, 8, 9. That's called relative reference. So it would adjust. If I went to the right, it would adjust the columns in here. So we're going to click in cell F5. We did this and we copied it down. We dragged that down. So now we're going to click in cell C13. And I'm not sure why it wants us to do 13 over here. And let's see. So we are going to click here. We're going to copy everything over. We want to copy it over to F13. So I'll just click and drag it. I could have copied and pasted. That would have done the exact same thing if I wanted to. Now it tells me to click in cell C13. And we're good to go in here. So this is what it should look like. So we have 182, 11, 1090, 1108, and 4380. So we're missing one. I didn't go over far enough. So I'm just going to click and copy here and paste. And notice that this is some E4 to E12. Notice that this time it adjusted the columns. And this is F, this was D, and this is C. So that is relative reference. So now we're going to do an absolute reference. That means the cell does not adjust, and it's really very easy to do. So I'm going to do it wrong the first time, and then I'll do it right. So in G3, we need to type in percent of total. So here is percent of total. And of course I did that wrong. Let's try this again. Percent of total. And let's see. That was G3 and G4. We're going to type in F4. Click, so we're going to click equal. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide F4 by F13. So F4 hitting the divide sign by F13, which is a total, to get the percent, which notice is 14.02%. So that works out good. Now we're going to copy it down, and we're going to get some really weird issues. So let's copy it down, and we're going to get this divide by 0, because notice it's trying to get F5 by F14, which is nothing in it. This is by F15. So what we need to do is fix this and change this to what's called absolute reference in here. So there's a bunch of ways to do it. So I'm just going to hit the edit key here. And notice that it's on F13 here. If I hit the F4 key, it will add a $sign to both the F and the 13. That means do not adjust either the row or the column. And we'll talk more about that. So then I'm going to drag this down here, and everything works. So notice that it has F5 divided by F13 and F11 divided by F13. So that gives us the thing, the actual correct thing. It does this in here absolutely correct. And we can, then it talks about using a mix. So in this particular case, we don't really need to worry about the actual column. We do need to worry about the row, but if you want to do a specific cell, it's best just to have both of them there. You know, again, more about that later on. So now we're going to enter a formula with multiple operators. It goes through the order of operations. So here are some examples. If you look at it, notice that we have the 40 divided by 2. That'll get done first. And then so you have 20, and then it'll add 10 and 20, so you should get 50. Here it's going to do parentheses always go first. So we're going to add this in here. So 30, that'd be 70 divided by 2 is 35. Here we have 5 times 2 is going to get done first, which is 10, and so on here. Again, order of preference, so just remember parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. So in cell J3, and this is a little confusing, so I may have to go over it twice. So we want to click in cell 3 and we're going to type this year. Making sure I'm in the right one. This year. And we'll hit the enter up top here. Then in cell K3, which is this, we're going to hit equals F13. So here is F13. And let's see what it wants. So it's just making a copy of it. So what happens if this changes, let me change this here to 500. look what's going to happen up top here. It'll change both here and in K3. That was number 2, and in J5, we're going to type percent increase. And let me make this left. Now notice that this is not going to show in here. So if I were to type something in here, you'll see that you're not going to be able to see it. So the way you fix that is you can double click up here, and that will make it as wide as it needs to be to accommodate the cell. So we have previous year total and increase. So that's a easy way to make everything show. So let's go in here and see, we're going to choose and click on cell K5, which is right here, and it wants us to type equals and then K3 minus K1, so that gives us our percent increase. And I may have done something incorrect, so let me go back and fix that. So I'm missing the parentheses, so I'm going to put in the parentheses here, because if I did put in the parentheses, it will not do it properly. So now we have K3 minus K1, and then we're going to do divided by K1. And that gives us this. If I did not put in these parentheses, it would divide K1 by K1, which of course would be 1, and then subtract it. So now we're good here. Wants us to format it using percent, which is here. And then it wants us to increase it by 2. So we're going to go and increase it to 2.41. So that looks good. So I'm going to now pause this video. We're almost at 30 minutes, and we'll do a part 2 in there.